Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I hope you guys are doing really well. I want to come to the Black Financial Channel real quick and answer a few questions some of you had about the stimulus check. A lot of you are expecting the $1,200 checks to arrive in your inbox or in your bank account any day now. I hope that your check arrives quickly because I know some of you are in the struggle, and I know that that money is a little bit hard to come by. Personally, if you want my opinion, I don't think that it's smart for us to keep the economy shut down for much longer. I think that there are a lot of people who are going to get to the point where they're so desperate, their kids are so hungry, and they are struggling so bad that they're just going to go take their chances. Because once again, I reiterate to you, and I put this on my Instagram, people got mad at me for it, but there are a lot of ways that people can die on a daily basis, and people are dying in a lot of ways, and it ain't got nothing to do with this virus. So anyway, let me before I get on that soapbox at all, and I'm gonna try not to get on too many soapboxes today. I'm gonna just answer the basic question I've been asked a lot. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done this. Please hit the thumbs up button. Basically, a lot of people think that the stimulus checks are going to be taxed. This is not taxable income. Basically, the checks, in case you want to know the amounts, they're going to be $1,200 for anybody earning up to $75,000, $2,400 for couples earning up to $150,000, plus $500 for each of your little badass kids in the house, which makes, I guess, that gives you a good return on investment. I don't know. But for a lot of families, it's going to make a big difference. And so I hope that the money comes in. I will say, though, that it's not enough money to keep people locked in their houses for months and months and months. If they decide to extend all this throughout the end of the summer or to the end of the year, it ain't gonna work. I'm just telling you, it ain't gonna work. People are just gonna be like, you know what, screw it. If I were president of the United States, what I would do is I would say, look, we're going to keep all the vulnerable populations. Anybody over 70, we need you to stay quarantined. We're going to send you a big check. Anybody who lives with somebody over 70, we want you to stay home. We'll send you a big check. Everybody else, when you come out, we want you to put on your mask. We want you to wear gloves. We want you to social distance so you're not breathing on each other. And we need you to get back to work because we need America to get moving again because the odds of you catching the virus are 1 in 1,000 almost. And the odds of you actually dying are about 1 in 25,000. So we're just going to have to take our chances because the odds of you losing your job if you don't go to work are about 80, 90%, about 100%. In fact, at this point, I think there have been 50 to 100 jobs lost for every case of corona. And given that 80% of those cases involve a full recovery, I think that that we just have to be realistic about this. Sure, there are real people that have been affected, no doubt about it. But remember, I put this up on my Instagram, which is the real Boyce Watkins. Did you guys know? Tell me, give me a yes or no if you knew this. Did you guys know that while we were, talking about the 23,000 corona deaths, which are really bad, did y'all know that 138,000 people died from the flu this year? How many of you knew that? Give me a yes or no. How many of you knew that 138,000 people died from the flu this year? Did you know that? While we're talking about 23,000 deaths, which is very sad, 23,000 deaths from corona. How many of you knew that 3.7 million people worldwide died from various communicable diseases? How many of you knew that? 3.7 million. Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Because I think we need to have intelligent, honest, logical conversations here. I don't think that just really acting, sort of focusing on one death at a time in one area and then ignoring all the other death that's happening all around you is necessarily logical. I really don't. I think that the media kind of plays with our head a little bit. How many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you knew that there were 12 million abortions this year? That 12, again, it depends on how you feel about abortion, but, it does involve like killing a living thing, right? I mean, you could say that. I don't know. How many of you knew that 88,000, again, 23,000 corona deaths, how many of you knew that 88,000 women died during childbirth this year? 88,000 women died during childbirth this year. 23,000 corona, 88,000 women died during childbirth. Let's keep going. 23,000 people died from corona. How many of you knew that 41.7 million people, scratch that, were infected with AIDS, and 479,000 people died from AIDS this year? Again, we're talking about viruses that infect people and people die from them. Sure, corona is much more contagious. It's easier to pass it, but Corona's a long way from 479,000. So again, you're telling me, like, because I get people that get mad at me. They get on my Instagram and they're like, "Boys, you're so insensitive. You don't care about these people." And I'm like, I do care. I do care. I really do, especially if you have a loved one in your family that's affected by it. But I also care about the 479,000 people who died from HIV/AIDS. That's also a disease that passes from one person to another, and that's a much bigger number. How can you tell me to pay attention to the 23,000, but then you're telling me to ignore the 479,000? I don't get that. How can you tell me to pay attention to the 23,000 from Corona just because you saw it on CNN and that's why you're paying attention? But you expect me to not pay attention to the 88,000 mothers who died during childbirth this year? How many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you knew that, again, 23,000 people have died from Corona in the U.S.? It's a much bigger number worldwide. I'm going to find that number in a second. How many of you knew that 2.1 million children under the age of 5 died this year? 2.1 million children. How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that? I'm going to look up a number so we can find the exact numbers of total deaths. 23,000 in the United States. Let me find, I need the worldwide number. Give me the worldwide number so we can just really keep it 100 here. So we can really keep it intelligent. That's all I'm asking you. Let's just be intelligent. 123,000 deaths from Corona worldwide. 123,000 out of 1.9 million infections. 123,000 of those people died. The vast majority of those people were over the age of 70. An overwhelming majority were over the age of 70. Damn near, 90+% of them had significant pre-existing conditions. Sure, there's a racial disparity. Sure, it's a big problem, but there are bigger problems. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I got more. How many of you? Let's see here. We know 23,000 people in the U.S. died from Corona. 123,000 worldwide. How many of you knew that 1.4 million people died from smoking this year? 1.4 million people died from smoking. How many of you knew that? Now, cigarettes are not contagious unless you consider all the smoke being blown into the air and secondhand smoke, which does kill you. Or if you consider the marketing, which kind of makes mentality contagious, right? Marketing infects you with a mindset that makes you think that smoking is okay, right? So to some extent, marketing is actually more impactful than a virus. The media is showing you that because right now all of you are infected with the virus of fear. The media is doing a very good job of being extremely contagious with infecting people with the virus of fear. How many of you knew that 1.4 million people died from smoking this year? Yes or no? Let's keep going. 123,000 people worldwide died from Corona. How many of you know that 712,000 people have died from alcohol? How many of you, yes or no? Give me yes or no. How many of you know that 305,000 people have died from suicide? And did you also know, how many of you also know that the suicide rate is going to go up? Did any of you see the little black girl who killed herself because she couldn't handle the quarantine? There's a story about a little black girl in the media right now. I don't have her name in front of me, but she died because she killed herself because she couldn't take it being quarantined. It was driving her crazy, poor thing. How many of you know that 384,000 people will die from road accidents this year or have died? How many of you know that 239,000 people? I mean, since we're talking about death and we want to sort of, we're not, if you're not emotionally drained yet, if you're not emotionally drained by one sob story after another being fed to you in media, I want to give you more things to be sad about if that's what you're looking for. I'm not sad about it. I'm sad in the sense that, it's sad that life involves so much death. But when you kind of accept the fact that death is a part of life, then you kind of say, yeah, man, that's really sad. I guess I'm going to enjoy my life as much as possible. Or maybe I'm not going to go through life in constant fear that I might catch this thing over here when there's 5,000 other things out here that could take you any day of the week. The difference is that the media doesn't talk about it and your mind is controlled by media. If media started suddenly talking about the 239,000 people that have died this year from water-related diseases, then you would be afraid of drinking water. Water would scare you if every day they were to highlight a feature story of some 5-year-old boy who drank some bad water and died. If every day they said, "Oh my God, do you know that another 800 people died today from drinking bad water?" You would get scared of water. Am I right or am I right? Tell me, give me a yes or no. What do you think? Am I right or am I onto something? Am I at least worth listening to? I'm not telling you that you have to agree with me, but is this at least making you think a little bit? And so just to finish off, since we're talking about the 23,000 corona deaths, why don't we also talk about the fact that 10,000 people died today just because, right? Maybe we can again go back to that. Let's do a quick recap. 23,000 people died from corona, 123,000 worldwide. The numbers are starting to flatten out. They're actually starting to go down in some places. So everybody who says, "Oh my God, it can get much worse," it ain't gonna get much worse. It's just not. The data does not support that. And even if it did grow, the vast majority of individuals who are impacted are typically people who could have died from any of these things that are on this list. Like, because you're 88 years old, a lot of things can take you out. We're not talking about 23-year-olds. We're talking about people that have lived a very long, very full life who unfortunately hit the thing that actually takes them out, which makes me very sad, but it's a part of life. So let's keep going. So again, 23,000 corona deaths in the U.S., 123,000 worldwide. Very sad. Media is talking about it. It's a big deal. What they're not talking about is 138,000 flu deaths that have occurred this year. 2.1 million children who have died this year under the age of 5. 12 million abortions. 12 million aborted fetuses this year, who would have been little children, who would have been people, but they're not people now because, we killed them before they were born. 479,000 people died from HIV/AIDS. Again, 23,000 corona in the U.S., 123,000 corona deaths worldwide. Let's compare the numbers. 123,000 versus 1.4 million deaths caused by cigarette smoke, 712,000 deaths caused by alcohol, 305,000 deaths caused by suicide, 384,000 deaths caused by road fatalities, which means that you get in the car today, you might die. God forbid. I hate telling you this, but you get in the car today, you might die. Does that mean that you never drive again? Let's keep going. 239,000 deaths caused by water-related diseases, and 800 million people around the world do not have access to clean drinking water. I don't know if you guys know that, but almost 1 billion people on Earth do not have clean drinking water. So that means that that tens of millions more are at risk of dying from bad water. That should be, if we're really going to be in constant panic mode, if we're going to be in constant sadness, if we're going to be in constant fear, then why not be afraid of the fact that thousands of people are going to die today because they're drinking bad water? And that's an infectious disease. I mean, my God, have you seen how dirty, nasty the water is in parts of India and Africa? The little children are drinking this water. So I'm not saying that it's not significant. I'm just saying that I think you're being played. I really do. I think that it's selective. It's almost like how they have selective outrage, how we're going to be outraged about this, but we're going to completely ignore that. Or when the president, God bless Barack Obama, but I saw Barack Obama go on Twitter and mention the racial disparity in corona deaths. But the whole time he was president, y'all don't remember, he lived, there were black people being shot 2 blocks from his house. I lived 2 blocks from the president, and you go a few blocks over, you're talking about places where Chief Keef, the rapper, used to roll, and they were gunning down young black boys every single day of the week. And the president said not one word about any of that. Donald Trump, actually, believe it or not, was the only person who even talked about it. He was the one who said all those black people are dying in Chicago. Obama said nothing. So I'm not saying that he was wrong to mention the corona disparity. Sure, that's an issue, but I think that it was a political thing. It's like, I'm going to mention it now because I want to manipulate black people to get them to engage in selective outrage so that they can vote for us in the next election. So my belief is that you need to make a damn choice. Either you need to be outraged about all the things I just mentioned. Seriously, how are you going to be mad about 123,000 deaths from corona when you ain't mad about 479,000 deaths from HIV/AIDS? I mean, people catch, that's a communicable disease. I mean, people having sex every day, right? So either be outraged about everything or calm down and just accept this as, a part of life. It's a risk factor that you have to avoid. So going out and working and running an economy in a corona world is no different from going out and having sex when you know that there are many, many STDs out there, some of which can kill you. Seriously, like just calm down and protect yourself. Are you going to stop having sex because you know that there are people out there that have HIV/AIDS? Are you going to stop that? I mean, seriously, if you go lay down with a man, he's a handsome man. Do you know where his junk has been? Did you get a test? Did you make sure that he had a test results to show you that he was clean? Or did you just, roll the dice a little bit? Fellas, when you lay down and she got a big butt and a smile and you think she's looking good and you want to go get with that, are you asking for test results? Are you going to reject every woman that you meet because you're afraid that you might, catch something from her? Or do you just put your condom on and protect yourself? Right? So I think that in a corona world, which I think we've got to get used to, the virus ain't going nowhere. It ain't going to be eradicated. It's not going to disappear. It's going to always be out there. We go into life and you live your life, but you put your condom on. Meaning, if you want to wear a mask, fine, wear a mask. If wearing gloves makes you feel better, wear some gloves. Wash your hands. You should be washing your hands anyway, unless you're nasty like that, right? It may be social distancing is something we have to get used to. I personally don't know if I want to live in a world where human beings can't get close to each other. I don't want to go have my events and not feel comfortable shaking the hand and hugging the Black people that I meet at those events. I don't want to live in that world. I'm willing to say, yeah, you might breathe on me and breathe something on me that's going to kill me, but I need a hug. I need a hug more than I need to live in fear. I want a hug right now, and I'm willing to take that chance. So that's something I think we can lay out as a perspective. Or you could just stay in your house for the rest of your life, and then that way you'll be completely safe from everything. So that's an option. All right. So anyway, let me keep reading about the stimulus check here. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Number 2, the stimulus check will not have to be repaid. I don't know if anybody knows this, but you don't have to repay it. I'm gonna read what's written here on CNBC. It says, assuming that all the information on your tax returns is correct, you will not repay the check next spring. So unless you lied, to say you're eligible and you're not, it looks like you're not going to have to repay it. You may even receive more money when you file your 2020 taxes. While the checks are based off of your 2019 or 2018 returns to get you money now, they are technically credits for the 2020 taxes, per the Tax Foundation. If it turns out that you should receive a larger credit based on your 2020 adjusted gross income, then you will receive the difference next year. If a taxpayer's income drops in 2020, then they will be eligible for any remaining rebate credit they were not able to claim using their 2019 or 2018 return. On the other hand, you will not be penalized by the IRS if your 2020 adjusted gross income is higher than this year's income, according to the Tax Foundation. Quote, if the amount of a credit a taxpayer qualifies for in 2020 is less than it was based on the 2019 return, it does not have to be paid back. That's a little bit confusing, but basically the conclusion appears to me, based on what I'm reading, that you don't have to repay it. Now, what might be true is that perhaps they are taking the refund check or the stimulus check and they're applying it against any tax credits you might receive. That's what I got to look at that again to kind of think that through. But I'm guessing that might be the case because what they're saying here. Let's read this again. Let me see here. If it turns out that you should receive a larger credit based on your 2020 adjusted gross income, then you will receive the difference next year. Okay, so if your credit was supposed to be larger than the 1,200, then you would actually get more money back later on. But if your income drops, but they said that you will not be penalized if your 2020 adjusted gross income is higher than this year's, meaning 2019. If the amount of a credit a taxpayer qualifies for in 2020 is less than it was based on the 2019 return, it does not have to be paid back. So it sounds to me like you don't have to pay it back. it sounds to me like you don't have to pay. But the only thing, and I got to kind of think on this a little bit, and maybe if you're a tax expert or something, feel free to send me an email. My email is boyce@boycewatkins.com. But I'm looking at this and I'm getting the sense that the only exception I could see here is if they were to say something like, that the money we're going to send you, if you get a big refund or if you have a big tax credit coming back to you, this money could be applied against that. So it could be considered an advance in that way if that's true. I got to research that. It's not coming through really clearly to me, to be honest with you. So let me see here. Excellent point, Doc Watkins. Look at his question. How many people get direct deposit? I think most people get direct deposit. Is Jay Morrison at risk of losing his fund? I don't know I don't have any idea about that. I talked to Jay the other day. He didn't mention anything about it. How are you getting it? Where do homeless people get their mail? Or are they going direct deposit? No, I think that there are ways that you can actually apply. I got to go look that up, but you don't actually have to have filed taxes, I know, in order to get the check. Another myth that's out there is that it's going to take a really long time to receive your money. The IRS, the Treasury Department actually announced Monday that tens of millions of Americans should receive their deposits by Wednesday, April 15th. And the department expects a large majority of eligible Americans will receive their impact payments within the next 2 weeks. Number 4, I can't sign up for the stimulus checks. This is another myth. There is nothing most people need to do to receive a check. If you filed your tax returns and put in your banking information, you'll get the money automatically. The only people who might need to do something to receive a payment are low-income Americans who do not typically file a return and those who want to provide the IRS with their bank account information to get their payment faster via direct deposit as opposed to a mailed check. An online portal to update your bank account information is expected to be available in the next few days on the IRS's website. So it sounds like a lot of this is based on online portals, but I imagine there are services out there that'll help you put that information in. Now, if you're homeless and you don't have an address, then yeah, you're right. I don't really know. I don't really know how that could actually work. I mean, you have to have some place for them to give you the money. They either have to be able to put it in an account or mail you the check, right? So, that's something. Yeah, that's. So there might be people that are just going to miss out. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think that they should do? Like go out in the streets and hand out $1,200 cash payments? I mean, that's the thing. Like, so I'm not going to say that they don't deserve consideration. I'm just saying I don't know how you solve that problem. I don't see how, if a person can't even cash a check because they don't have a place to cash it, or they don't, or you don't know where they are or who they are, or things like that. I just don't see how you can fill that void in. Let's see here. The IRS overpaid me, and now I have to pay back some of the money. That's another myth that's out there. The IRS will not ask for money back. Coronavirus pandemic scams are proliferating, and the FTC warns of several related specifically to the stimulus checks. One of the most common, scammers send a check purportedly from the IRS, then claim that they overpaid you and that you need to wire some money back. If you get an official-looking check for more than what you were expecting, say $3,000, the next call you're likely to get is from an IRS agent. They'll tell you to keep your $1,200 payment and return the rest by sending cash, gift cards, or money transfers. If you experience something like this, report it to the FTC. Keep in mind that the IRS will not call, text, or email you. Scammers are sending official-looking messages, including postcards with a password to be used for online access to verify your payment or direct deposit information. The IRS will not contact you to collect your personal information or bank account. It is a scam. Okay, so this doesn't answer all of our questions. I still have some questions about, in terms of clarifying whether or not this is an advance tax refund. That's a really good question. I still have to think on that. I got to go research that a little bit. I'm gonna talk to my accountant today, so maybe she can help me kind of nail that down. And then the second piece, if you're homeless and you have no address and no bank account, how do you get your money? I think that is a tough one. I do agree with you, Star City, that $1,200 is crumbs. I don't think that that's going to be enough to really make a dent for people for a long time. I think that we are in a really impossible situation. I think that we have people out here politically that are saying we should stay inside until, I guess no corona cases exist anywhere, or, they're negligible or something. I don't know if that's realistic. I just don't. I mean, money has to come from somewhere. And that's one of the biggest issues I have with people that are really hardcore socialists, meaning complete, total anti-capitalist, is that they act like money comes out of the sky. Like everything should be free. Well, things have to be paid for. You need money for things to happen, So I think that this fantasy that we could just stay home and never, ever, that we can, never, ever go back to work or life as usual, I think is a little bit misguided. Now, I agree with you, Hyman. It's not an advance; it's a credit. Advances must be paid back. Yeah, yeah. So the thought, I guess, is that it's probably a credit. It's probably just money that they're just saying, look, here's a tax credit. Everybody gets it. This is your money. I can't imagine a scenario where you'd have to pay it back. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it doesn't look like you have to give anything back. I would imagine that perhaps maybe if you owe money to the IRS, that might complicate things. If you have child support payments that you owe, you're not getting a check. And so I'm going to keep researching that and try to really understand exactly what's happening. I think the biggest challenge right now that they're having as well is that they're having a really hard time rolling out the money. And that's going to be a big problem, is that they're really in a position where the economy needs money. It needs cash to get there quickly, almost the way you need water to get to the body if you're dehydrated. And the money isn't getting there as fast as they were hoping. So let me see here. Thanks. Not sure if I should spend it or just save it for now. I would save or invest it or something. I wouldn't be out spending money. I just kind of think that it's so, right now it's just such a strange economy right now. So I don't know if I'd spend a lot. But saving or investing, I mean, the stock market's a great place to invest right now because prices are really, really low. I'm going to tell you my particular speculation had always been that this situation was overblown. It created this frenzy of fear and panic. When there are lots of things, like if I spent, if I were running CNN and we spent a month, again, telling you about how many thousands of people are dying every day from having like dirty water, it would make people scared of water. Like I can make people afraid to drink water out of the faucet, or demanding that, that we clean the water before anybody drinks it again, or I could increase the demand for bottled water. And so basically, I think that people like myself were the ones who said, okay, great. We're not great, but okay, the world's panicking right now, which means they're all going to run away from the stock market because they're all scared to death. Stock prices drop. I can go in and buy a bunch of stuff. And then when everybody realizes the coast is clear, the prices will come back up and money will be made. Donald Trump used to do that, by the way. Donald Trump in the 80s used to create frenzies, artificial frenzies in over a company's stock that would cause the price to go up. And then he would sell all his shares right when the price got really high. And that's how he would make his money, because he knew that he could basically, by buying, whenever he just bought a bunch of a company stock, people would think that he was going to go in for a hostile takeover. So they're like, oh my God, Donald Trump's going to buy the company. He's going to buy the company. So everybody starts buying the stock because they want to be along for the ride. And as soon as he got everybody along for the ride, he would jump off the ride and let everybody be taken for a ride. So you got to remember, these people are slick. They're masters of manipulation. Whether you're talking about media, you talk about politicians. Steve Mnuchin, who's the Treasury Secretary. I read his bio in detail. He's a very interesting man. He's worth, I don't know if you guys know, he's worth about $300 million. And he actually got a start on Wall Street after he graduated from Yale. He's a member of that group, the Skull and Bones Secret Society. He graduated from Yale. He went to Wall Street, made a bunch of money on Wall Street, and then he started executive producing movies. He was a partner in a company that was making movies like, I think, X-Men movies and stuff like that. So he made hundreds of millions of dollars from that. And so these are really wealthy people who live in a really special, almost insulated reality. So Steve Mnuchin, who's literally the man responsible for pushing out, that $2 trillion stimulus package, is a guy who I don't think from his background is able to really, connect in an authentic way with what regular people are going through. He's never lived a regular person's life. He started off with a wealthy Jewish family, and he was going to special boarding schools his whole entire life. He was groomed to go to Yale. He was just like maybe Mortimer on Trading Places. Like he had that kind of lifestyle, and so he goes to, so again, think about this. So you grow up in a Jewish family where, again, they're not trained, the Jewish community isn't training their kids to become basketball and football players like some of us are. Like we think, basketball is your way out of the hood. It ain't no way out of the damn hood. It's a way to get back to the hood for most of these kids. They're training them on wealth. So he was being trained. He probably went to business school as a toddler because his father and his mother were probably talking to him about business when he was in diapers. And again, that's one of the things that we do in the Black Business School. We have parents that are doing that. So their children are going to be extremely wealthy because you're grooming them for wealth. So he was groomed for wealth. So he was born into a wealthy family. They trained him on wealth at an early age. He went to all these private, privileged schools and had made good grades, goes to Yale, joins the Skull and Bone Society. So he's got access to all this wealth and power from all the other people that are members of this group. And then he goes on to Wall Street, where money is everywhere. I mean, you go to Wall Street, even the people that don't make very much money are making $2 or $3 million a year. Like the lower paid people are making $2 or $3 million a year. I know this because I taught at Syracuse University, which is in New York. So because we were in the state of New York, we sent a lot of our students down to Wall Street after they would graduate. So I have a lot of former students who work on Wall Street. There's so much money there. It's ridiculous. And so he goes to Wall Street. He makes his first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million. He goes work with some hedge funds. And then they start financing, again, just same way the Jewish community actually financed Hollywood. They still do that. So with his friends, probably many of whom are probably from the Jewish community like him, they go and they finance these films in Hollywood, and the blockbusters go on to make a ton of money. Some of that money probably from Black folks. They probably made some movies for you guys too that we went to go see. And now he's worth $300 million, and then his buddies, appoint him as the Treasury Secretary. So I think that for Black people, I think that sure you can sit around and be mad about his path and his trajectory and all that. I don't think that being mad is a healthy emotion. It doesn't benefit you to be mad at somebody or to hate on somebody. It doesn't benefit you to be scared, to sit around just constantly afraid. I encourage you to learn, to pay attention, to peep out the game. So when I look at Steve Mnuchin's life, I see a few factors. I see the way the Jewish community grooms a lot of their children for wealth at an early age. You can learn from that. Two, I don't think it's a coincidence that he went into banking and he went into entertainment. Those are two industries that the Jewish community has made their own. Black people can do the same thing. We just, we choose basketball, football, and rap or whatever, right? But you think about it. What do we do in the Black Business School? I have my students. First of all, I have my students read a book called "How the Jews Invented Hollywood," and in that book, I just tell people, I say, read that book and imagine if those people were Black. Just imagine that this was a Black community as opposed to the Jewish community, because that book is great because it breaks down how they got together, with other oppressed people. Because nobody wanted Jewish people in their schools. Nobody wanted to work with a Jewish person. Nobody wanted Jewish people in their country clubs. Nobody wanted Jewish people around at all. They wouldn't hire them or anything. So they got together with other people that were in the same boat, and they created this entertainment industry. And out of this, came Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, MGM, all these major, the William Morris Agency, a lot of Black actors and actresses that are famous, the Samuel L. Jackson types, Taraji P. Hensons, they're all signed with William Morris. So they're getting a cut of the best Black entertainers out there, as well as the best white entertainers. And so I think that we can kind of look at that and sort of say, okay, what can we do in our space that is kind of the equivalent to that? Well, I can tell you, number one, the way Mnuchin's parents raised him on wealth at an early age, which is connected to why he's worth $300 million today. You can do the same thing with your child. I pretty much said I think every Black child should go to business school when they're 6 years old. That way they're going to be as good at business as they are at basketball and football. What else? Well, number two, so he graduates from his school. He goes to Yale. He joins groups with other, powerful Jewish people that allow them to connect and to work together on projects. Well, I think we should do the same thing. I think that Black people should have our investment clubs, our entrepreneurship clubs. You got your Greek letter organizations, things like that. You come together with other Black people and you do things together, you invest together, you build wealth together. So number 3, he went to Wall Street and created hedge funds, things like that. One of the easiest ways to build wealth is to go where the money is. So so he went into Wall Street because that's where the money was. It's easy to get money on Wall Street. It's hard to get money in other places. So I think that for our community, we should just go where the money is. So for example, Black women's hair is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Well, I think that we should own the hair care industry. I think we should take that industry over from whoever is making money in that industry. We should basically just box them out, just basically literally work together to make sure that we are doing business with each other and that we're actually owning the hair, the beauty products and the hair salons and the curling irons, whatever it is that we can own in that industry. We should own all of that because we're good at that. Right. And then what's the last piece? Well, he invested in Jewish Hollywood and they made these movies. The movies sold and they made money and they got a good return on investment. Well, you have a Black Hollywood. You have some of the best entertainers in the world. Black people are really talented. Like we really know how to dance. We know how to sing. We know how to act. We know how to rap. We know how to do all the things that make an entertainment industry go. So since you control all that talent, all you got to do now is create the bed of investment, the bedrock of capital formation that allows that talent to happen. So, the same way Tariq Nasheed went and made Hidden Colors, and he had, millions of Black people that were willing to watch that movie. Tariq Nasheed has turned Hidden Colors into probably $100 million franchise. Like Hidden Colors is worth at least tens of millions of dollars just as a brand, as a franchise, right? So the same way you created the multi-million-dollar Hidden Colors franchise, you can create lots of franchises that way, as long as you have an agreement between Black businesses to create what Black people want and Black consumers to support what they like. Right, to support things that are Black that they enjoy, right? So what is our so white folks, they create things like X-Men and the Avengers and whatever. What is our version of that? What is where are the Black versions of these things, right? And I can tell you, I talked to a lot of folks that are in this industry. I had a meeting this morning with Rick Mathis, who is a filmmaker, and so we know the talent is there. We have an oversupply of talent. What we have is an undersupply. We have an undersupply of individuals that are willing to take the other sides of the deals, meaning those who are there to help raise the money, those who are there to develop the business models, things like that. So we need to really have an overwhelming commitment to creating millions and millions and millions of young Black kids who just want to do business, who ain't trying to get on the stage and rap, who ain't trying to sing and dance, who ain't trying to play basketball and football. They just want to either sit back and program the computer and write the computer code to allow it to create digital distribution channels, or who can sit there and make the business deals that will be structured so that when the money comes in, the money will flow in the right direction. So anyway, I'm done talking. I didn't expect to talk about all that, but y'all know how I get. In the morning, I just have stuff I want to say and I just say it. So I appreciate you guys listening, and I'm going to hang up before I lose my voice. So I hope you guys have a great day. And do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And some of you complimented on the shirt. Oh, crap, that was gross. I spit that out. Sorry about that. And if you'd like to get a copy of the shirt or a shirt like this, you can go to wokeblacktees.com. That's wokeblacktees.com. And can I get humble advice from you about my business? Well, I do one-on-one consultations, but they're not cheap. But you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com if you're interested in that kind of thing. I'm about to do a consultation now, actually. A brother, he paid in advance, so he wants to sit and talk about his business. So for an hour, he would have my undivided attention, and we will talk about his business. But again, it's not cheap. So because my time is pretty limited, so it kind of is what it is. I just have to be honest with you about that. Anyway, the t-shirt platform is wokeblacktees.com. Also, if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock, just go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day, and I shall see you soon. Take care. Peace.